We met before I even understood what love truly meant. I was 6 years old, sitting on the swings in our neighborhood park, when she walked up with a messy ponytail and a smile that could brighten even the dullest afternoon. Her name was Layla. She asked if I wanted to race her to the slide, and from that moment, we became inseparable. Childhood has a way of weaving people together without explanation, and somehow, every memory I have of growing up seems to have her in it. We were partners in every adventure, building forts out of bedsheets, collecting seashells during family trips, sneaking candy into the movies, and whispering our dreams under the stars on summer nights. She wasn't just my best friend, she was my favorite part of being alive. Even then, I felt something different around her, though I didn't know how to name it. When she laughed, it was as though the world tilted a little more toward the sun. When she held my hand, it wasn't the same as holding anyone else's. It felt like a secret, something precious only we shared. At 12, I told myself it was just the closeness of friendship, but somewhere deep inside, my heart already knew better. We spent hours planning our futures, promising that no matter where life took us, we would always be side by side. Best friends forever, she would say, her pinky finger hooked with mine, sealing the promise like it was sacred. I would nod and laugh along, though a quiet part of me longed for words we never spoke. Best friends felt too small for the way I looked at her, for the way her smile lingered in my chest long after we said goodnight. As we grew older, my feelings only deepened. By the time I was 13, I noticed how different it felt to watch her from across the classroom compared to anyone else. She was radiant, unafraid, and full of life. Teachers praised her, classmates adored her, and I memorized her, every tilt of her head, every expression she made, every way she existed in the world. It was as if my heart had chosen her before my mind even had the words to describe why. But in our small town, girls didn't fall in love with girls. That was the unspoken rule, a shadow hanging over me even when no one said it out loud. So I told myself that what I felt was just admiration, that maybe everyone looked at their best friend this way. Still, when she hugged me too tightly or leaned her head on my shoulder, I would feel a spark I couldn't explain. Layla never knew. I never told her. And so our childhood passed with laughter and secrets, some spoken, some buried deep in my heart. She was my first friend, my first dream, and without realizing it, my first love. High school changed everything, and yet, somehow, nothing at all. Layla and I still walked to school together, sat beside each other at lunch, and shared headphones on the bus rides home. But the world around us was shifting, and suddenly, so were we. She was blossoming into the kind of girl everyone noticed. Her laugh echoed down the hallways, her hair caught the sunlight just right, and her confidence made people gravitate toward her without her even trying. Boys in our grade tripped over themselves to get her attention, carrying her books, slipping notes into her locker, finding excuses just to talk to her. And there I was always by her side, smiling, joking, pretending to be unfazed. But inside, it was like watching someone hold the very thing I craved and knowing I could never reach for it. Every time she giggled at a boy's corny joke or blushed at his compliment, something in my chest tightened. At first, I told myself it was jealousy of losing her to someone else, but as the years went on, I realized it wasn't about losing her, it was about wanting her in a way none of those boys ever could. Our late-night conversations became my lifeline. When the world grew too loud, we would retreat into our private universe, sitting on her bedroom floor, talking about dreams, fears, and futures. She wanted to travel the world, to chase sunsets in cities she'd never seen. I wanted to follow her, though I never admitted it. When she laughed and said, "Promise me we'll always be in each other's lives," I nodded, silently screaming, "I don't just want to be in your life. I want to be your life." There were moments when I thought maybe she felt it too. Sometimes her gaze lingered a second too long, or her hand would rest over mine and neither of us would move. Once, at a school dance, she pulled me onto the dance floor when no one else would. Her arms wrapped around me, and for the first time, I felt what it was like to belong exactly where I wanted to be. The music faded into the background, and all I could hear was the sound of her breathing close to mine. I almost told her then, almost whispered the truth into the space between us. But the fear of ruining everything swallowed my courage whole. So I laughed it off, turned it into another memory we'd look back on as just best friends. And yet, in the quiet of my room later that night, I replayed every second, wishing I had been braver. High school became a battlefield of hidden emotions, her dating, me pretending, her shining, me shadowing. Still, through it all, one truth remained constant. She was the love I couldn't name, the secret I carried everywhere I went. There are moments in life when the truth hovers on the tip of your tongue, trembling there like a secret desperate to escape. With Layla, I had hundreds of those moments. Each one felt like a door I could walk through, but every time I reached for the handle, fear slammed it shut. I remember one night in particular. We were sprawled across her bedroom floor, textbooks open, but completely ignored. She had fallen asleep beside me, her head resting lightly against my lap. The glow of her desk lamp softened her features, and I found myself studying her face like it was a map I had known my whole life, but still wanted to trace forever. My hand hovered above her hair, aching to touch, to smooth back the loose strands that had fallen across her forehead. But I stopped myself. My heart thundered with the weight of what it would mean if I let myself give in. To her, it would just be comfort. To me, it would be everything. So I pulled away, tucking my hands into my lap, carrying the ache in silence. Another time, she came to me heartbroken. She had just broken up with her first boyfriend, tears streaming down her cheeks as she collapsed into my arms. "I feel unlovable," she whispered into my shoulder, and my heart cracked open in a way I didn't know was possible. I wanted to shout, "How can you not see how loved you are? How can you not feel how deeply I love you?" Instead, I just held her tighter, rocking her gently as though I could shield her from every hurt in the world. My love stayed locked behind clenched teeth, a truth buried in the spaces between heartbeats. Every smile she gave me, every touch, every shared secret, it all felt like confessions disguised as moments. And yet, I never spoke the words. I told myself it was because I didn't want to lose her, because if she didn't feel the same, it could destroy everything we had. But the deeper reason was simpler. I was scared. Scared of rejection, scared of judgment, scared of the possibility that she would never look at me the same way again. So I built a cage out of silence and locked my feelings inside. I became an expert at disguising my love as friendship, at laughing when I wanted to cry, at standing still when I wanted to reach for her. The weight of the unspoken grew heavier with each passing year, pressing down on me until it became part of who I was. Loving her was both the greatest joy and the quietest sorrow of my life. She would never know, and I would never tell. My confessions remained unspoken, tucked into the spaces between our words, carried only in the rhythm of my heartbeat whenever she was near. Life has a way of pulling people apart, no matter how tightly you try to hold on. After high school, our paths began to drift in different directions. Layla had always dreamed bigger than the borders of our small town. She wanted the city lights, the buzzing energy, the promise of endless possibilities. So when she got accepted into a university miles away, it felt inevitable. I, on the other hand, stayed behind, choosing a local college, clinging to the familiarity of home and perhaps, selfishly, to the last traces of her that lingered in the streets we once walked together. At first, we made promises, daily calls, constant texts, weekend visits. For a while, we kept them. I would sit on my bed at night, phone pressed to my ear, listening to her stories about bustling dorm life and the new friends she was making. I laughed at her adventures, comforted her when she felt homesick, and tried to pretend that nothing had changed. But deep down, everything had. She began to build a life without me at the center of it, and though I knew it was natural, it hurt in ways I couldn't admit. When she spoke about new friends, I forced myself to smile. When she mentioned boys who flirted with her, I forced myself to laugh. Each story was another reminder that she was slipping into a world where I couldn't follow, where my love had no place. The visits grew less frequent. The phone calls shorter. Soon, texts were answered with hours, sometimes days of silence. I told myself she was busy, that college life was overwhelming, but in truth, I could feel the space growing between us. It wasn't just miles, it was a widening gap in our hearts. I filled my days with classes, work, and the occasional outing with friends, but nothing compared to her. Every street corner, every cafe, every quiet walk home reminded me of her absence. The silence left behind was deafening. I missed her laugh, her warmth, the way she made the world feel softer just by being in it. And yet, despite the distance, my love didn't fade. It deepened. Because love, I realized, doesn't always need presence to survive. It thrives on memory, on hope, on the unshakable pull of someone who lives in your heart. I held on to the hope that one day we'd find our way back to each other, even if I never told her what she meant to me. But with every passing season, the truth became harder to ignore. She was moving forward, and I was standing still, trapped in the gravity of a love I couldn't name. Years passed before I saw her again. By then, we were no longer the girls who whispered secrets in the dark or passed notes in class. Life had carved us into different versions of ourselves. Yet, when I walked into that small cafe one rainy afternoon and saw her sitting by the window, it felt like no time had passed at all. She looked up, and our eyes met. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Layla had changed. Her hair was shorter, her style sharper, her smile carrying a maturity I hadn't seen before. But it was still her. The same eyes that once looked at me like I was the only person who mattered. The same voice that called my name in the hallways of our youth. When she stood and hugged me, years of distance melted in an instant. We sat for hours, catching up on everything and nothing. She told me about her job in the city, the travels she'd taken, the new circle of friends she adored. I listened, drinking in every word, memorizing her again the way I used to. I told her about my own life, simpler, quieter, but steady. She laughed at my stories the way she always did, and for a moment, it was like we were teenagers again, safe in the bubble of our shared world. But underneath the laughter, something unspoken hummed between us. When her gaze lingered on mine, I felt the old spark flare back to life. It was dangerous, that familiar ache, because it reminded me that no matter how much time had passed, I had never stopped loving her. As the evening stretched on, silence settled between us. She sipped her coffee slowly, her eyes searching mine like she was waiting for me to say something. My heart pounded in my chest, urging me to finally speak, to break free from years of silence. Tell her, a voice inside me begged. Tell her you've loved her all along. I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. Fear, my old companion, rose like a wall between us. What if she didn't feel the same? What if this reunion, this fragile thread reconnecting us, shattered the moment I confessed? So instead, I smiled, swallowing the truth once again. When we parted that night, she hugged me tighter than I expected. "Don't let so much time pass again," she whispered. I nodded, promising her I wouldn't, though deep down, I knew I had already let a lifetime slip by without telling her the one thing that mattered most. Walking away from the cafe, I carried the same weight I always had, love locked behind silence, heavy and unspoken. Only this time, it hurt even more, because I had been given another chance to tell her, and once again, I hadn't. I never told her. Not that night, not afterward, not ever. And maybe I never will. Some truths feel too fragile to release into the world, as though speaking them aloud might shatter everything they've silently built. Loving Layla became one of those truths so deeply woven into me that it shaped who I was, even if it remained hidden. We stayed in touch after the reunion, though not as closely as before. Messages here and there, the occasional phone call, the kind of connection that drifts in and out with the rhythm of busy lives. She sounded happy, and that was enough for me. I found myself smiling whenever she told me about her new milestones, her career victories, her travels, even the person she eventually started dating. Each time, my heart tightened with the ache of what I had never confessed, but I pushed it down, reminding myself that her happiness mattered more than my longing. Sometimes, late at night, I let myself wonder about the what-ifs. What if I had been braver at 16, when she danced with me and the world melted away? What if I had whispered the truth when she cried in my arms, believing she was unlovable? What if I had told her in that cafe, when her eyes seemed to search for something deeper in mine? Maybe things would have changed. Maybe we could have been something more than memories and missed chances. Or maybe I would have lost her entirely. I'll never know. But what I do know is this. Loving her taught me more than any relationship ever could. It taught me that love isn't always about possession or confession. Sometimes love is quiet, patient, existing in the spaces between words. It's the way your heart skips when their name lights up your phone. It's the warmth in your chest when you hear their laughter, even from a distance. It's the bittersweet ache of carrying someone in your soul, even if they never truly belong to you. And perhaps that's what real love is. Not about claiming, but about cherishing. Layla will always be my first love. The one who showed me what it means to feel deeply, even in silence. My story with her may never have the ending I once dreamed of, but it doesn't make it any less real. Because love, spoken or unspoken, shapes us. It teaches us, transforms us, and stays with us long after the moment has passed. So when I think of her now, I don't let sadness swallow me. Instead, I hold on to gratitude. I'm grateful for the laughter, the memories, the quiet nights under the stars. I'm grateful for the way she unknowingly taught me who I was, even before I had the courage to accept it. And though she may never know the full truth, I will always carry it gently, like a secret pressed between the pages of a book only I can read. In the end, I grew up loving her. And that love, even unspoken, will always be mine to keep.